Yep. Looking good, sounding good.
The thing is, anything that I see is with at least 30 seconds delay. So
Yeah.
by the time I get to figure out that the cameras are frozen. All right.
I'm switching the profile, see if we get any freezes.
So far, so good.
Yeah. I think we've identified part of the issue here. We're not gonna say.
Technical difficulties, but that's fine because it is part of the job. So we are back at the moment. Hopefully we will stay back until the end because we did not get to the juicy parts just yet of all of the cool stuff that's been happening so far in World of Warcraft. I think we're looking good.
Yeah, well, we're looking good. I'm keeping the OBS open, so make sure you read all of that stuff because I cannot read it.
All right.
So where were we? We're at Trollblade, Obliterate, Cast Frequency.
We got through all of that stuff with the addendum that the Blood Decay video is going to be dedicated. We're not going to go through the Blood Decay rework. That's going to have its own video on the channel. You'll see it. Just stay tuned. As always, we'll have a proper video for that. But we do want to mention really quick about the Frost Decay new talent, which is the Hyperpyrexia, since it was something that it's related to what people have been addressing regarding the rework with Breath of Sindragosa, whether or not that's going to still be viable. I don't think this answers that question because what this does is makes your runic power spending abilities have a chance to additionally deal 30% of the damage dealt over 4 seconds. Now, this talent just goes right into Breath of Sindragosa, and you might think that this sounds like something that would benefit a lot like Frost Strike, which it actually ironically might do, but this also benefits Breath of Sindragosa, where each tick of the breath essentially does extra damage in the form of a dot. What this means is that it condenses the damage that Breath of Sindragosa does in a more smaller window, since that's usually what people want, so they don't feel like they have to play Breath for like a minute or a minute and a half, which is the main issue with Breath of Sindragosa in WoW.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Frost Decay. There's still long lines to be crossed in terms of like how Frost Decay plays. I don't know, man. Dragonflight was an interesting experiment. I feel it's way too brain dead. I think what they did with Unholy is much more interesting overall.
Oh, for sure.
I know there were a couple of not yet implemented talents, right? So this new talent, Hyperpyrexia, yeah.
Marcelian is gonna have a stroke. That's what the talent is.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, I love the fact that they sometimes just invent some weird ass like names.
You know, this
for
is an
talents.
actual word probably somewhere. We're gonna have to look it up. It's like, what does this mean?
Yeah, we have to like wiki that stuff. But regardless, we're looking at like the new implemented talents right now.
Yeah.
So for Frost, it's all fine and dandy, but Unholy.
The Unholy is actually getting the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, you know, off the record, you know, in the office about Unholy. It's definitely not at the level of Mage reworks, for sure.
Not yet.
There's still a lot of glaring issues with the spec. However, like if you love playing Unholy Decay in Dragonflight, you can bet your ass you're gonna love playing it in the War Within. Like even with the not so great changes. There are not many not so great changes, let's be fair, but they're not at the same level at Mage.
Well,
let's talk about it.
It all depends on how it plays out in the end, but to address maybe the only issue that still remained, or the main issue that still remained, was with the wounds, because it was just like a dead system. We now have Festering Scythe, a new talent. Every 20 Festering wounds you burst empowers Festering Strike to become Festering Scythe for 12 seconds. Festering Scythe sweeps through all enemies within 14 yards in front of you, dealing shadow damage and infecting them with 2 to 3 Festering wounds each.
Now, what do you think about that? It does sound amazing.
This sounds incredible, especially with bursting swords. And I'm not even talking about, what is it, Contagion?
Vile Contagion. Yeah, Vile Contagion will probably be a thing if this goes live like this. Because I don't think there was a scenario where you would play like the wounds build. It was still good, but it wouldn't really compete with Epidemic. This is pure AoE, right?
Yeah.
What is a little bit concerning here, I know they're like trying to push this whole start using more your Dead Strike and not Dead Strike, your Festering Strike.
Yeah.
Because to be really honest, like that button is almost you don't press it in AoE at least, right? So in dungeons, I don't think there's ever a reason you want to press it, except for like the boss fights. Okay, that's fair. But what is the most time you spend in a dungeon as an Unholy Decay? On mobs, right? And you never press it. And I feel they want to incentivize the usage of this. And I think it's a pretty cool way to like have it work like this, because
the thing is, here's the problem, right? You are right. You don't really want to press Festering Strike in AoE, but that's the thing is, you activate this without having to actually press Festering Strike. You still have to burst wounds. You have to still burst 20 wounds to get this actual effect. I don't know if it's gonna stay at 20 wounds, but what it actually does is crazy, because sweeping, I don't know if they're gonna AoE cap. Let's assume
the visual for this shit, man.
Like, and if you've seen, even if you don't like Frost, like the scythe animations are crazy. But even if they cap it at 8 targets, that means at least 16 wounds are going to be up with one cast of Festering Scythe. And then you're probably going to be in Death and Decay, and you're probably going to follow it up with a Scourge Strike popping everything.
Yeah. I think that's the intent. So, listen, it's a cool way of transforming, Festering Strike into something like this, right? This is like, okay, this is how we incentivize you guys to use it a bit more. I think like the other part of like everything that works here, you just exemplified. I think that will basically have you take Vile Contagion and play wounds.
And Bursting Swords for sure, I would
time.
imagine.
Yeah, it would be redonkulous. But it's for testing out, right? This is probably going to be a nice video to make out of like testing all of these new talents implemented for Unholy Decay.
Like a version 2 of the Unholy rework.
Yeah, which was already pretty great. All right, let's check out the other one, if you will,
Decomposition.
Mr. Flame. Decomposition for the French
exactly
speakers.
what you want to do as an Unholy Decay. Virulent Plague has a chance to abruptly flare up, dealing 50 to 100% of damage. So this is a 2-pointer. Of the damage that it dealt to the target over the last 4 seconds, and deal it instant. When this effect triggers, the duration of your active minions are increased by 1 second up to 3 seconds. It being a 2-pointer talent, I think the duration doesn't increase, but only the actual damage. This is interesting because obviously, whenever I see this, I'm thinking of Army of the Dead and the ghouls.
That also, yeah. I really don't know what to think about this. So that you basically have like when it triggers, the duration of all of your little zombies are increased by up to say 2 seconds. It's good. What the hell? Let me show this.
It's turning off. But the battery's like 80%. I don't know why it's turning off.
Yeah. So everything is going according to plan today. Everything that would have been fucked up has been fucked up.
We're going through all of it. The plan A never survives contact with the enemy. We know that.
Yeah, but okay. Let's get back to it. So, it's interesting, but I don't feel that excited about it.
It's not. It happens passively.
It's okay. Yeah, it's very
it doesn't
passive.
interact with anything that you do. I mean, it's great to have the feeling of, okay, I want my diseases to do something, and this will make it do something, I suppose. Maybe this would, I don't know what the proc rate behind it is, or the chance to flare up. Does it increase if you run Ebon Fever, where they tick quicker, or they do damage in a shorter window? That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, we're not gonna like super theory craft it, because we haven't tested anything. It's just like us talking out of our ass basically. But it is like, out of the two that were not yet implemented for Unholy, I feel it's like a really good direction, especially with the Festering Scythe. That still has to be tested out and tuned and whatever. I think this other one, Decomposition, is just, it's okay to have, but it's not like mind-boggling. And I think I can speak for the both of us. We don't really like that much, when we're talking about new talents. If it's all passive, we don't really like it. We like much more interactivity, something that would be a lot more gameplay changing and stuff like that. So it's okay. It's okay. Not complaining.
It's good considering that everything that Unholy got, like getting these two talents, it's looking pretty good going forward into the new iterations. And once again, at least the Festering Scythe is addressing a major concern that a lot of people had with the fact that wounds are just boring and they're not really doing much.
Not much at all. Okay. What do we have next here?
Well, we have Demon Hunter.
Are we touching the Demon Hunt? We have to touch the Demon Hunter.
Yeah, the Eldrachi Reaver. Demon Hunter. We're kind of segueing into the least popular and the least exciting hero.
Let me tell you something. I have nothing to say about this. Okay, I have nothing. Nada. So carry on, please.
Thank you for telling me. All right, so Eldrachi Reaver got a lot of the tuning done to it as well, similar to what we've seen for Rider of the Apocalypse. It's not as much as damage tuning, although that is also part with Reaver's Glaive, damage being increased by 200%. But also we have Wounded Quarry. Now, always procs bonus damage while Reaver's Mark is on your target. Soul Fragments generation is still a chance. Reaver's Mark duration is increased to 20 seconds. So once again, tuning to how the mechanic works and how it actually plays out in the combat. Art of the Glaive activation threshold doubled. Well, you know. And intent pursuit cooldown reduction increased to 4 seconds. Evasive action no longer extends tactical retrieve fury regeneration periodic, and evasive action no longer resets initiative. So overall, just a lot of mechanical tuning and extension of the windows.
Wait up, man. What about Reaver's Glaive damage increased by 200%? There, I said something. Now I matter.
I also started with that, by the way.
Shut up, man. I knew that.
It's all good. I personally feel like Demon Hunter is just a little bit on the boring side when it comes to hero talents. It's great that they're keeping it up to date and they're, you know, tuning it so that it's more impactful. And even though people are memeing it that it's not that great because where's the I-beam and all of that, to be fair, out of the 2 hero talents, Eldrachi Reaver still feels like the more interesting one because you're just throwing your glaive around and it does damage, and that's great.
You know what I just realized? I don't know how many Romanians homeboys we have out there, but Eldrachi would definitely be Aldracu. Aldracu Reaver. All right, moving on. Fuck it. One more thing I wanted to add here. The fact that they're tuning already in alpha feels very interesting. I don't think that we ever saw an instance that they took specs and, you know, in this case, hero talents and whatever, and just started tuning the shit out of them. I don't know what they're basing their tuning on. Probably the dungeons we never get to do because there's not a lot of people on the alpha.
You know what this really looks like? This really looks like there's multiple teams and each team handle a specific class. I don't know. I would be surprised if there's like one team per class, but they're definitely progressing the class design philosophy all the way to from A to B. Because if you go back into Dragonflight and Shadowlands, they went through the talents first, the unpruning or whatever we had in Shadowlands, and then all of the tuning, right? Like it all happened in waves, but now it's like class-based, not waves-based anymore.
Yeah, and not all classes are no based whatsoever. We're gonna get to that because some classes are getting a lot of love.
They're less based than DK for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Druid, quick and fast.
Claw.
Right. So we're going through these on a little bit of a speedier pace because, like, in order to like properly talk about everything that's happening here, we have to like test
There's
it
a
out.
point that we want to get to.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
We do want to talk about Druid of the Claw because it is one of the hero talents that has been. It sounded really great, but it wasn't that great in practice. And the philosophy behind it, and we're going to talk about that as well, is definitely impacting the change that we're seeing right now. So first of all, Ravage and Dreadful Wound damage is increased by 10%.
Yay!
Dreadful Wound now reduces damage dealt to you by 4% for Feral and 10% for Guardian, and this ties into their essentially design philosophy for this, where they want the Guardian to take more defensives out of it and not make it super defensive for Feral. That's not the point. You're not a tank as a Feral. Feral's Aggravate Wounds now triggers from any ability that costs energy. Empowered Shapeshifting increases the damage of Mangle by 10%, previously was 5%, and the damage of Swipe and Shred by 3%, previously was 5%. So Feral was benefiting a little bit too much from Druid of the Claw as opposed to Bear. Strike for the Heart now increases ability critical strike chance and critical strike damage by 6%, was 8, so it was nerfed. Strike for the Heart now causes Mangle to heal Guardian Druid for 1% of their maximum health. And Feral's Wild Power Surge now increases the damage of your next swipe by 50%, nerfed from 100%, or the Mangle buffed to 200%, up from the previous 100%.
Hold up, I got the last ones. I can read them out for you.
Oh yeah.
Let me read them out for you, because I can read, you know. Yeah. Guardian's Willpower Surge now increases the damage of your next Ferocious Mind or Red by 100%. Was 50%. Mwah, exquisite. You know, I used to main Feral Druid back in Shadowlands. It's an interesting.
You touched Guardian by accident as well.
But that was so fun,
It
dude.
was, dude.
With those legends. Yeah, okay. And Wild Shape Mastery's retention of Bear form. The pause is intentional.
Go, man.
There was a lot of pause. There was a lot of pause. Let me try that again. So,
Take 2.
Wild Shape Mastery retention of Bear form. Stats.
That's how he got his wife.
In cat form also retains Bear form's resistance to being critically struck or parried. Carry on, Flame.
That's really good. So essentially, they've retuned how the hero talents work towards both of these specs, because what was interesting is that initially when they released a lot of the hero talents, everybody was up in arms that this sounds like it's made for this spec and this other spec doesn't get anything from it. And they didn't really want to change the values based on each spec because they wanted to be more universal, more generic, but they're going back on it because, and I think that's the smart way, because not all of these specs take the same amount of value from it.
Yep, Matt, that's right, man.
I said it so good, man,
right,
with
man.
the words and everything.
Man, this is great. But I think Feral here is getting like the super love that it needs. So after all.
I mean, they've addressed the melee range, and we can see this in Primal Wrath range being increased to 10 yards up from the previous 8. And it added a connector between Primal Wrath and Bounty Strikes and Talon Tree, basically just making pathing better, because we can all appreciate a better pathing.
Oh, yeah. Plus, we know that like the first iteration that they did with the whole Feral rework was so bad. Oh my god. So seeing this finally happen, and I think a lot of feedback was given.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's basically what Rampant Ferocity is, because now damage has been increased by up to 50% when the player spends extra energy on Ferocious Bite, which I don't think it was an interaction that was present before. You'd probably just still do bites, and the single target bites that you would do would benefit from the extra energy that you spend, but it wasn't translated into Rampant Ferocity. You can see that they took it out because they thought that, it's not really great for them. And everybody was like, give me back my Rampant Ferocity, and they brought it back. Not only that, they also buffed it. And Thrashing Claws now requires players to know Thrash in order to apply the bleed from Thrash, because logic.
Because if you don't know, now you know. You have to know Thrash in order to do Thrash. You know what I'm saying? No, but it's. I think it's in again, like when we talked in the beginning at the all of the first phase of the podcast with all of the freeze cameras and stuff. Remember that we talked about the fact that they are listening to feedback. And a lot of these changes are based on the feedback they have gotten. So I think this is for the better. Obviously, there's still a lot of things to be addressed, I think, with most of the specs except Mage and probably Warlock.
Oh my
but
God.
Then again, I think it would be cool, like, to just look a little bit on their responses to the player feedback and stuff.
That actually plays into their what you can expect from the spec being designed in the future, and the kind of feedback that you can get.
Okay, so let's start off with Dead Knights. Okay, so obviously they're talking about the blood talent tree and everything that happened there. Flame already had the stream to date covering all of it. We're gonna have a full-on video about it, but we can see a little bit on what is their philosophy behind it.
Sure.
So our focus for blood updates were heavily focused on the tree layout, updating existing talents to have more synergy with Blood's kit, reducing the amount of 2-point talents, and moving a couple of talents baseline like Crimson Scourge and Dead's Caress, which is great. One major pain point we've heard expressed with Blood is how much friction there is to pick up Gorfiend's Grasp in content where you may need it. I think that was huge. I remember a lot of talks about that.
Oh my god. Well, that was essentially the first problem that we've seen ever since the Dragonflight beta, when they reworked the Blood Decay talents and they slapped it in the middle and you knew you were never going to pick it because you just didn't have the talent points to spend into it. Now they moved it up, and also I think they're saying later into this post that they're going to be moving it in because they've already tested. By the way, you know that you've been saying for a long time that, whatever you're testing, they already have a build ahead in their inside team that they're testing. They're essentially just
that's what Ian said some time ago.
But they're confirming it like right here.
This is great. This is great. We're going to talk a little bit about their philosophy and what you feel after testing it.
Sure.
How much it translates. But yeah, the Gorfiend's while we generally like the accessibility it has in the new tree. We've been testing it internally and have realized that its new location has made it a bit difficult to avoid in scenarios where you might need the AoE grip. And this wouldn't be a problem necessarily, but boy, do they like to do a lot of fights and in both dungeons and ways where you need AoE grips. This is something that if you're going to design the game this way, might as well make it,
a little bit more accessible, yes. I mean, we've seen this with Vengeance rework with the grip sigils that's been really...
Oh my god, yes. We will update the pathing again to make it still accessible, but a bit more optional. The other big point of contention for Blood is just how many talents you had to buy in to have a functioning baseline as a tank. True, we hope the combination of the reduced 2-point nodes, new pathic, and baseline abilities that there will now be more variety in your builds and flexibility when tackling different content. we look forward to hearing your feedback. We will have further updates. So yeah, they're confirming basically that there's still more to come. It's pretty cool. Now, based on what they've said here, how did you feel?
Very good, actually. And I've also talked with Mandel as well. The overall changes of blood definitely address most of the major concerning issues with blood, because you've been playing the same blood for 2 years straight. And now with the updated in the talents, you can actually path to more things. They've reworked a bunch of talents, which you will see in our dedicated video. And Gorfian's Grasp is actually more accessible. I actually play with it. It was fun to have it back, because I haven't played with it since probably BFA or something like that. It was crazy.
All right. So pretty good. I would say this is definitely a W. We can move on to the Demon Hunter, I guess.
For
yes.
Sure, yeah.
Let's see what they had to say about the Alderac reverse Demon Hunters. We've heard their feedback regarding short duration buff windows and the rotational pressure they impose, and we're taking steps to address that. Okay. By reducing the frequency with which Art of the Glaive triggers, we open up some room to let your buffs persist for longer periods of time. We intend for this to smooth out the precision required and generally introduce more flexibility on timing. We've adjusted the value of several related effects to compensate for this slower cadence, and will be continuing to iterate on pacing. Okay, so this is basically how the Alderac River came about.
This is in tune with a lot of the reworks that they've done, where they want to move more and more away from the very specific windows. This is exactly what you need to do. These 5 globals in these very short windows, and you need to press them all at that time. I mean, we've seen that with Arcane rework, where they want to give more freedom for players to actually interact with their damage windows. So, and then that's great. That just makes it more accessible to everybody.
Yep. All right, so let's check out also the feedback for the Druids.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week is mostly a suit of effect tuning for Druid of the Claw. So yeah, confirmation tuning wise, several Druid of the Claw bonuses provided uneven value to different abilities or specs, and we've adjusted the bonuses granted to various abilities to give them more comparable value. We also adjusted the defensive value that the tree gives Feral and Guardian Druids. Tank specs should generally get more defensive value than DPS specs from their shared trees, so that the tree doesn't become a lock-in trait for DPS players in hard content, and Feral Druids of the Claw were getting a lot of defensive value. See, I think when I read this, and you pointed it out in the Druid of the Claw thing, with the tankiness for both Guardian Druid and Feral, I think this is one of the biggest issues with the hero talents. Now, we can talk about the concept of hero talents, but the fact that they have to like share specs between them, I think that was wrong. I think that was a mistake. I understand the philosophy behind like unifying specs and getting the best of both worlds from each and every spec or whatever. But when you get to classes like Druid, it's going to be a hard time. And you basically have a first iteration of it, which I feel like a lot of people worked on for a lot of months. And then you're going to have to like break it down to like, okay, Feral has less tankiness than Guardian, which makes sense, but I think it's a lot of extra work that could be placed elsewhere. I think hero talents on basis, if they were to be made spec only, and instead of just trying to figure out how you would take this flavor from this spec and the other flavor from the other spec, just drop that figuring out, and just concentrate on making the spec more enhanced and the look of it.
Oh my God!
The biggest opportunity they had to make the look, and granted, some of them do have updated visuals.
Not all of them, unfortunately, and people have been addressing that Feral's animation have been really lackluster for the longest time. The sound effects also, and similar for Bear, they're very basic, very vanilla, and Druid of the Claw doesn't do that anyway. However, a side note to this, I did notice today that they've updated Windwalker animations for Shadow Pan, where now you have like some little swipes going around, which are
no way,
and they look really cool. Because I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, is this a Windwalker monk? And that just brings a little bit of a hope that they might add this for more specs. But in the end, with their philosophy for Druid of the Claw, just points out to one of the issues where Feral and Guardian kind of always were the same talent when they were released. Yep. That's not necessarily the problem here. The problem is when there's a choice between Druid of the Claw and Wild Sucker for Feral, where Druid of the Claw actually gives you damage reduction through armor, and Wild Sucker just gives you some healing. And we all know that the way the content is designed favors damage reduction more than just actual healing.
Yep.
So that's the issue there.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I'm not going to drop this one for now because, again, the fact that some of the specs for some of the hero talents got like animation updates and whatever. Why didn't they go this route? Why do you believe they still went on for the more systematic, pointy, theory crafty route and not go all in for the pure cosmetic stuff? Now, getting power is great. Don't get me wrong. All right, so that's always fine. And I think
still be
yeah, you still have to gain some power because that's how WoW kind of plays, right? Each and every expansion. However, I don't like, except for the Covenant abilities, like then. And then their visuals back then in Shadowlands, and then the updated ones in Dragonflight where they're more clear. I don't think they ever did anything like this. And I feel like if you're gonna have a Templar Paladin, sorry, I have to go there. Templar Paladin, right? Like the visuals or the what's it called? Herald of the Sun.
Yeah.
Herald of the Sun, like all different visuals for it. Like and then thinking about all of the other specs. This should have been their opportunity to like get some of that Mage Tower flavor back.
But that's true. And what's kind of frustrating a little bit is that they did do this. They did it in BFA with the Essences animations. If you remember, if you got Keystone Masters, you could upgrade the animation of the Essence and it looked badass. So they're no strangers to having multiple animations for the same spell effect being added into the database. Sure, it would be a Herculean task to add this.
Herculean? Is this Greece? Are you from Creta?
For what is 30, 60 hero talents, however many we have, it would probably be a lot, but I mean, we know how much people love cosmetics.
But on the spectrum of just hero talents, right? If they were just to drop this whole, let's complicate it, let's take from that spec and make this whatever it is, and just have 2, 3, 4 passive nodes and some active abilities, and on based on that, if like the title is something, Templar Paladin or Fatebound Rogue, but I don't know, update the vision, make unique visuals for that, because I do feel they want to tie in this identity of, I am a Druid of the Claw Feral, right? I'm not the Wildstalker Feral. So the identity option is there. They want that. The incentive is there. They want you to feel as something else when you go into these different hero talents. Why the hell not put in like the visuals to actually like get that visual feedback? Because this is the thing. I think like for the biggest part, they're focusing on the feedback based on numbers, not the
That's
immediate.
easier to approach, I suppose, than something abstract as cosmetics and aesthetics.
I agree. It's definitely easier to approach, but then again, we all know that the WoW art team is like killing it every time. And you see like the Void Weaver Discipline Priest.
Everybody's talking about it, man.
That animation is great. They managed to do that for that specific thing there. You mentioned the Windwalker Monk, whatever strikes thing.
The Flurry Strikes,
the Flurry Strikes. So it's there. Why not just go all in, man? Why this is what boggles my mind.
I think it's just how they're doing the class designs right now, because we're gonna get to some issues here, but definitely some certain classes are getting way more love, and it's not that they're getting way more love and some classes are ignored. I don't think they're ignored. I think there's just different groups of people work on different classes until they probably get them to where they want to be, and then they just move on to new classes. When you see stuff like mages constantly get stuff back to back after each week, and then they're going into tuning before they're actually addressing other classes that desperately need some attention, and then after that maybe they're adding some animations, and I would probably guess that whoever handles animations for the spells are not the same people that are actually doing all the balancing and tuning of the actual functionality of the abilities.
Yes, sir. And let's talk about the actual rework, the full-blown out rework. Oh my God, it's happening, of Hunter.
Finally, guys, you've been waiting for this for 2 years, and it's finally here. You've seen all of the mages and the warlocks
for it, yes, and like this is amazing. Like when you see this, it's like, where have these developers been all this time? This is the light, the saving grace for all hunters. Let's read out what the hunters actually receive. Go ahead, Flame.
Hunter, starting off with survival. Lunge no longer increases attack range by 3 yards.
That's it. I cannot. What's happening?
I mean, listen, I don't want to throw dirt on the devs. I'm sure the people who are handling Hunter are probably working on other classes right now, and then eventually they're gonna swap to Hunter. I'm sure Hunter's gonna be fine by the time the War Within launches. However, it must be frustrating for all of you hunters out there looking week after week at all of the walls of text that mages keep getting back to back to back to back, where mage gets more stuff done in 1 week than hunter gets over the course of an entire expansion. I know that's frustrating, and I feel for you because hunter is close to my heart as well, but damn, people want something just a little bit, just more than 3 hearts.
I mean, I feel for the hunters, man. I feel for the hunters. This is ridiculous. This just like, I feel like as when Blizzard are going in through like class stuff and spec stuff, and whenever it gets thrown out into like all of the, I don't know, mind bombing and all of the collective decisions, I don't know why some specs just always feel left out. Either they're like really working on something big for hunters and they're not really ready to like push that build up to like for us to test, or there's an issue there where the developer in charge or the developers in charge for the hunter specs are not with Blizzard anymore. It has happened in the past.
Yeah,
people,
we know for sure.
Yeah, people that worked for Blizzard and did amazing things for Red Paladins, for Rogues and stuff, they're not there anymore. And this is maybe an issue because, again, we have confirmation that they have like a lot more people in. However, this could come with the side effect that they brought more people in, but not as experienced.
It could be experience, could be like the focus is just different. It's not evenly spread out throughout the entire class system, so they're probably holding off on doing stuff like Hunter and Shaman, and I dare say Rogues as well, because Rogues have different issues. We're not going to get into that now.
Not getting into the whole...
but it's clear that the way that they're working classes right now, each class gets their own set of developers, and each set of developers works at different speeds, with doing different things at the same time. So that's why you're seeing multiple addresses to mages and nothing for hunters, but then DK is also getting new talents every week, so that's probably part of the reason why.
Yeah, it's I know it's sad for a lot of people who are like maining hunters or rogues for the longest time, and I've seen some people asking for shaman reworks as well. I'm not sure if that is necessary, but again, when you see the immense focus on mage, for example, and then you look at no information on hunter, it's it almost feels like there's like 7 people working on a class and 1 guy or 2 guys working on a different class, and they have nothing to show for it. Because this is, why would you put that change in there? What does that do? Why is that important? Because right below it, if you look, it's like another plethora of mage changes, as you mentioned. Why is that important to like? Well, keep it.
It has to happen because we've talked about the issue with people not in the alpha, and I don't think there's not enough people. I think people just are not interested. And we've known with the kind of content that we do that Hunter is probably the most popular spec in the game. So there's a pretty good chance that a big chunk of the players that are in the alpha don't get to actually play their class because Hunter just doesn't get anything. And to be fair, the hero talents don't really pull a lot of attention because they've marketed hero talents with Dark Ranger as one of their first ones to be announced.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you put it side by side with something that you've never heard about, like I don't want to say, let's say Deathbringer, right? Because Sam Lane and Ride of the Apocalypse, you might know, Deathbringer just does so much stuff. Like Sentinel for Hunter does like what a third of the Deathbringer talent tree does, and that's just not fair for everybody. So hopefully we can see changes, especially now that they've announced the beta being up. You need to grab people's attention a little bit more, and bring the hunters in because they're probably the biggest chunk of the community playing one particular class.
We'll see how that happens. But okay, we talked about mage. Let's go through what happened here, because I know you're pumped up about the mage, and you're thinking about maining it for. From what I know, it's not confirmed, but you were so impressed about it. It's like, okay, it's a game now where you really liked Fire. Did you really like Arcane? And if you didn't, this?
Okay, so what they've addressed for Arcane, and I think they've also had the developer notes as well, is they're addressing some of the issues, especially visually, which we've also pointed out in our Arcane video. with the rework, even though things have changed since then, the visuals were still an issue, and we've talked about the visuals as well. So once again, bringing a little bit more love to the aesthetics of how the hero talents actually gets played, which is great for, you know, people who want to look at pretty things, because Arcane does pretty stuff. Not to mention with all of the tuning, which is hard to judge, because I think for the first pass of Arcane, we didn't really have damage meters. We might have had them for the second one, and Arcane actually was doing terrible damage across the board. And we are seeing stuff like embedded arcane splinters damage reduced by 50%.
Yeah, that will help.
That's a little bit weird.
That will help Arcane do more damage than it did initially, right? That does sound like a nerf. I may be wrong. I'm no NASA scientist here.
This has not been my experience with Arcane Mage. Although I could be shit at the spec, considering that fire just does more damage than 2 specs combined. But I digress. Overall, tuning is neither here nor there. It's great that we see tuning to see the actual numbers. We don't have actual Mythic Plus. We don't have raids out. We don't know exactly what these numbers mean, because when you do dungeons on the alpha right now, things just die really quick. But it's great to see that the concerns for Arcane have been addressed, and we've seen a lot of the changes happen across the board for Mage as well. And they're redesigning a lot of the stuff. For instance, with Arcane as well, Spark of the Magi has been redesigned. Now makes your next Arcane Blast, Arcane Barrage, and Arcane Missiles echo for 25% extra damage. And initially was an increase the damage that they dealt by these spells. This updated behavior will allow you to properly benefit from the Spark of the Magi damage bonus on an Arcane Barrage you fire before Touch of the Magi is applied, because we know that this interaction was present prior to this with the old, I think Radiant Spark was called, but now we're just seeing that adapted into a more cohesive way of playing Arcane.
Yeah, I'm just cycling through the pages here. I have nothing to say about Arcane, man.
You like Mage. But also, there's a lot of stuff going into it. Aether Attunement has been redesigned as well. Every 3 times you consume clear casting, you gain Aether Attunement. And Aether Attunement makes the primary target damage increase reduced to 100%, down from 150, and the secondary target damage increase reduced to 50%, down from 100%. Once again, even more tuning, and Resonance and Arcane Cleave has swapped locations in the talent tree. Similar to what we've seen with Death Knight as well, it's a lot of tuning and redesign to pathing based on players' feedback. And once again, more fire.
Look at this, man. Look at this list.
Actually, I've been paying way more attention to fire, because I'm actually playing it on live right now. And what they're addressing to Charring Embers is basically just fixing the downsides of playing this mechanic with the tier set that we have now, and implementing it in a more less stressful way to play with Dragonfly, which is hilarious, because the Fire Mage rework has gone to a point where they're just like, oh, is that bothering you a little bit? Let's just fix that. Man, Hunter still doesn't have basic functionality of their talents, man.
Exactly
but
the point.
That's why I lean towards Mage, and because it's good, but also because I do want to stress this out, that Fire, at the very least, should be a benchmark to how classes are designed in the War Within, because it does pretty much everything that a lot of people want. If something doesn't work with Living Bomb, they redesigned that into Lit Fuse, and is now doing incredible damage. Dead Talents have been swapped and redesigned to make them useful. Dead Choice Notes have been redesigned and made them into actual Choice Notes. Capstones have been made to be cohesive and make sense when you're building Fire Mage. And every week that we're seeing this, they're just moving pathing away. They're just buffing stuff and changing, like they're taking one functionality away from one talent and putting it into another talent, like what we're seeing with Call of the Sun King and so on.
Yeah, well, we can go through this a little bit if we're because there's a lot of them.
We're good on time? All right.
Yeah, we're good on time. So Call of the Sun King no longer grants 15% increased Phoenix Flame damage, and instead makes Phoenix Flames always critically strike. I guess you want that, but
yeah, that was basically from Alexstrasza's Fury. That was taken from that and put into Call of the Sun King.
Yeah, Alexstrasza's Fury no longer makes Phoenix Flames actually always critically strike. Yep. From the Ashes now grants 15% increased Phoenix Flames damage. From the Ashes is now in gate 3, so this and the Surging Blaze has returned to gate 1. This is the positioning of the talents.
Yep.
Firestarter position has changed. Phoenix Reborn now requires 25 hits, was 20, so getting
it had to be.
It was a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, I remember. Wildfire has returned and is now in gate 2. Ashen Feather is now in gate 2 on a choice node with Alexstrasza's Fury. Inflame is now located in gate 2. New talent, Burning Blood. Damage dealt to targets below 30. Man, this is crazy. How much? This is so good. This is execute style.
Right, this is exactly execute, man. It's and that's not the only new talent. Keep
I'm going. But I'm already impressed. Like we can stop it here, right? But the talent is not in place, so it cannot be tested. Okay, new talent, Heat Shimmer. Damage from Ignite has a 5% chance to make your next Scorch deal 25% increased damage and deal damage as though your target was below. Oh, get the hell out of here, man. This is gonna be like Fire Mage is gonna be the execute beast with these.
Everything, man. You can talent into any aspect of dealing damage as a DPS player. That's why I believe that Fire Mage is probably the most complete DPS spec. It's kind of like the Vengeance Demon Hunter of the DPS specs, where you want to execute, you have execute. You want AoE, you have AoE. You want single target, you have cleave single target, you have funnel single target, you have AoE. Like everything is here. This is what you want in a spec.
Oh man, okay, but there's still more.
This
is not stopping. Hey hunters. So new talent, Sparkling Cinders. Living Bomb explosions have a 15% chance to increase the damage of your next Flame Strike or Pyroblast. Well, Living Bomb, this was not a talent you would take like on live, right? Like ever. Are they trying to like just get you to play more Living Bomb? It's like this, like, cause I used to love Living Bomb back in Cataclysm, like
it's
Cataclysm
so
WoD.
good because you remember, and you know, because it was a PvP thing before it was a PvE thing. You would take it because you had to take it just to.
Yes.
I think in PvP you would take it because you couldn't play the other options in the row back in Shadowlands because they were too bad for PvP. They would break your CC. And in PvE you would take it because you needed what it unlocked, and you didn't actually press it. And now what they did is they made it a passive and they made it proc from things, and it does so much damage because we've tested today when we tested the Blood Decay. There was a Fire Mage in our group that was just exploding everything on screen with Living Bomb.
Oh yeah. I saw that. But this is great. I remember like when it was an active ability and you didn't really take it just because of reason X or Y. I used to love playing with it. I just apply it.
Cool.
I would, but again, that was active. So you would apply it and then you would just like build up your crit. And once that Living Bomb exploded, dude, it was one of the most funnest things, the most satisfying things all over. Now you're telling me it's passive?
Well, I can accept the fact that it being a button that you press is a little bit more exciting, but with the passive. But however, Fire Mage just does so many things. You cannot really put another button. There's no time. There's no time to press an actual extra button for Living Bomb.
I get it. Okay. And also, Control Destruction increases the damage taken from Ignite by 0.5%, stacking up to 50 times, was 1% stacking up to 25 times. Okay. So I guess they just want to prolong this a little bit. It was too fast. This is the gist of the change.
It's a very niche thing. I honestly didn't play that much to kind of get a feel of what this actually means for your overall performance, but considering what everything has been done to the rest of the things, I'll just, I'll trust them that they know what they're doing.
At this point, you cannot really not trust them because this all looks like effing great. Everything that we're looking at here. All right, are we? I think we kind of like closing it off. There's obviously a lot more things that happen with the latest build, but I think like for the most part they're either like small-ish or like we can probably wait for testing to make them like into proper videos, right? But overall, I do believe like the biggest, I would say, news is the fact that the beta is coming next week. Sure, we have like a lot of information about all of the classes and stuff, and changes to not hunters, but changes to a lot of like the different specs. It does feel like they favor a lot of the mage specs going forward. I don't know why, but it's good news. At least you have the precedent of them actually doing great specs, and we didn't even go through the affliction changes and all of that.
So Warlock is basically the same version as Mage with a little bit behind in terms of the overall theme. Affliction is still struggling from finding a proper identity with all of the new talents, but it's getting like it has 1, 2, 3, 4 new talents now, and things moved around through the talent tree. So there's definitely work being done. It might not be in its final form, but it's getting more new talents than lines of text that Hunter's getting. So I remember when Warlock came around with the hero talents and the reworks, and there was so much bad stuff around there, and they turned it around.
They turned it around. So this is why I have like a lot of hopes for the Druid talent tree. Something coming for the hunters as well. I don't know. what other classes like in Darnay?
Shamans have some of the more boring hero talents as well, unfortunately. So they're still kind of there, and I think Priest is pretty much a winner across the board.
Oh yeah, Priest is definitely. This is we have neglected covering Priest for quite a while. The reason being, I played Priest only to heal, and that's it. And I played Discipline and Holy, but didn't really play it as into like look at everything. That's when it's just make the talents work. Okay, let's go heal and make the dungeons work. So I haven't really looked at it in detail. But what I like about Priest in both Discipline and Holy, the goddamn visuals, man. Oh my god. So I am a Discipline Priest lover. I always play Discipline Priest because that was I think I'm gonna play Holy in War Within as a hero.
Oh shit!
Church.
No way.
Yep. I cannot get enough of that Holy Nova wave like that. And the thing is the hero talents. I think it's Archon. Are really emphasizing the whole healing through the Nova stuff. And
dude, I don't think we've done a single dungeon where somebody hasn't said something about the Holy Nova thing.
Yeah, everybody was like, man, that's so pretty. Oh my god, that's so pretty. And it also heals a lot. It used to do a lot of damage, but that was a little bit broken. It shouldn't do that much damage.
Oh yeah.
It did in the past. But I think like we can talk a little bit about it, but we will have dedicated videos for those. Just to point out the Holy Priest thing with the Nova, waves coming through like that delicious animation. The Archon hero talent is basically going for that and having you heal a lot more and reducing its cooldown. I feel like you get it. I think the cooldown should be lower because you have the Archon who you are basically making all of your big heals go through the Holy Nova thing, but you have access way too rare. So it's like you have to still rely on Serenities and casting Flash of Lights to reduce Serenities and all of that. And you just feel like, oh, but I want to get back to my Holy Nova. Why are you putting me press this stuff?
I haven't played anything. I agree. I just want to see more pretty. Just put more pretty in.
Yeah. And then you have Discipline Priest with the Void Weaver, which, oh my god, those Void animations are bonkers. And even the little things from Beyond or wherever, there's some small things that proc this also really cool. It keeps coming back to the fact that they can do this, the visual stuff for the hero talents, which would be a great win. It's there. Like some of the specs have them, right? So I'll hit it. But okay, just I think we kind of like derailed a little bit from the topic at hand. Biggest thing is, guys, make sure to check your launchers on the 5th of June. Because you're probably going to get into the beta, and we want you in the beta. Like both me and Flame, we want you there, and we want to play with you there.
Please.
We want to test out the content and make videos about the content.
Sure.
And this is the cool thing. Like, we've been the guinea pigs on the alpha, making sure that everything goes smoothly for you guys to join the beta. And the beta has everything there for you.
It's made for you.
Yeah, not all of the bugs and the weird stuff we encountered in the alpha. Don't you dare believe it's something really cool to have alpha. No, it's not. It's a lot of stuff not being implemented. So happy times.
Yeah, for sure.
Beta coming on the 5th of June.
It's good times, and that means that we'll have at least 2 months of beta, probably more. Which
June, July, yeah, it's gonna be more. I'm still putting my bucks on the September launch.
You think so?
Yeah, like end of August, something like that.
That would make a little bit more sense because they probably could use as much time as possible. But with WoW Remix ending on the 19th of August, and how they marketed WoW Remix to be like, oh, once this is done, you just take it into War Within. I would imagine that on the 19th we would get the pre-patch as well. So that's about a month or however long we're gonna have the pre-patch, and then going into.
Yeah.
The actual launch.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about the pre-patch. The pre-patch is still a thing. Yeah. Well, if they drop the pre-patch on the last week of August, I think we're good. Maybe. Do
we have a month of pre-patch or a week of pre-patch?
Well, it usually is a month, but we're talking about a month. You can talk about like 4 weeks, so not the whole month. I think in Dragonflight it was 3 weeks and a couple of days.
It was a little bit short, yeah.
Yeah, it was shorter. So you never know. We had pre-patches that lasted for a month. I remember Legion one was a month. Then we had the Dragonflight where it was like 3 weeks and a couple of days. So who knows? Regardless, if it's gonna drop somewhere at the end of August, then I feel this is great because beta testing is where it's at. This is where like the gates are open for everybody, and you can like go in the betas. This is the thing. In the full betas, we're also gonna have Mythic Plus. Remember that?
Yeah,
because we're playing normal and heroic dungeons,
and we still don't know anything about Mythic Plus because we speculated that we have new Mythic Plus affixes, and how they've changed Mythic Plus throughout the course of Dragonflight. We can probably assume that they're gonna have some changes for the War Within one as well.
Also changes to healing, how healing works.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask like
it's weird because when was this? 2 days ago when I logged into my Holy Priest to do some dungeons with you guys. Holy Priest Serenity is one of its biggest heals, right? On a target that has, I think, about 2 million HP or something, I crit it for 80k. That's not normal. It's either a very big tuning issue or they have something in the works. Because I feel any heal you throw out, at least, and you probably know this, Holy Priests have like the biggest like casted spot heals. You have like big chunky heals, right? Like, and that doesn't translate anymore in War Within. It's either a tuning stuff. So I'm not making a big case out of it, okay? But it didn't feel right, and my immediate thought was, okay, maybe they're doing something about this.
I'm really hoping that they do. I mean, we've talked about the healing issues with Dragonflight, and this is something that usually you feel a little bit more when you go to the end game part of it, where the yo-yo HP bars is something that we haven't had before. I know people have done comparisons with BFA where the numbers of HP levels were similar, but the HP didn't yo-yo as much back then. It was a much more pleasant healing experience. And the fact that the HP bars burst a lot and the healers have to be able to keep up with that means that the only thing that can threaten us is, instant burst, instant one-shot damage. And that's not fun to heal.
No. A lot of people made really cool videos about the issue, us included. But there was also a lot of content creators that made videos on the topic of big problems with healing in Dragonflight, okay? I don't think it's fun anymore. I think it was interesting, to just that gameplay of always being in tension and on your toes is like, oh my god, at any second somebody can just one-shot you. You better prep yourself or have a super giga high reaction. That's cool, but I think it really like stressed out everybody. And you can see that in the queues, especially last season, you saw it a lot. You wouldn't find any healers. And the issue is there. I don't know how much they are aware. I haven't seen any post or anybody from the Blizzard staff talking about this, but it is there. And if they're going to do something about it, it has to be done in the War Within. It cannot, we cannot wait for season 2 of the War Within. If we're going
it has to be in the beta.
It has to be in the beta. And this is again another positive thing about these alpha cycles, and that I do believe this is the first time they did this, where you would have basically an alpha build every week. So you would have segments of changes put in. Now with the beta, you're gonna have bigger chunks. So if we're gonna have the opportunity to test some possible healing changes, that would be great. Again, I tend to think they definitely gonna do this, especially looking, because even off heals felt weird. Apart from,
I mean, when we tested out Red Paladin, I was trying to off heal myself with Flash of Light or even Words of Glory, and I ran out of mana before I could heal half of my HP bar. That was crazy.
Yeah. On the other hand, Mokti, who was playing on Prot, had some huge ass heals. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk
Herald
about
of the
there.
Sun, I think, is just crazy with. Lightsmith was it?
Whatever.
Yeah.
So this is it's not consistent. We cannot really pinpoint it, but it definitely needs to be addressed in some matter. And I think the gameplay of, okay, you do have 10 situations, but I do feel that 10 situations should be maybe on boss fights, not necessarily impacts. I feel like
be spread out, not like the norm.
Yeah, they added so many interrupts and casts over the years for mobs and stuff. At this point, it becomes really, really tiring and stressful. It's not fun anymore. It's not challenging. I mean, we love challenging, but that's not translated into how the Mythic Plus dungeons are right now, especially for healers. There's just too much going on for a dungeon, okay? So if you have spread them a little bit, I don't know, maybe just reduce the impact of big heals, make smaller heals, but then the damage intake shouldn't be like spiky, as you mentioned. Okay, obviously you're still gonna have like the tanks who take spiky damage. That's a different discussion. Blood Decays, hello, Brewmaster Monks. But I feel like they need to like make it a lot more smoother. I think the gameplay needs to be smoothed out for Mythic Plus in the perspective of healers. All right, so I think we're trying to close this off like an hour. It keeps popping in my head. Hey, how about that? And how about this?
We can probably talk for hours, and we'll see how this essentially evolves. But this was the first iteration of WoW wrap up, where we go over the new stuff.
The fucked up iteration. This is there. Who said this is the alpha version?
We have it all on screen, and you've seen it here live here at twitch.tv/Marcelian and youtube.com/Marcelian.
Yes. And part of the stuff that was recorded here, hopefully, will be transformed into videos. And the stuff that doesn't make it into videos for the channel will be cut and put into clips. We're probably going to put all the fuck-ups with the camera.
Yeah, it was
on a different channel. But now we kind of know what's happening, and we shall catch you guys next Thursday. But tomorrow morning, not morning for everybody.
In a couple of hours, depending on when you watch this, the stream is going to resume its regular schedule, where we're going to be playing live and we're going to be testing new specs depending on how many people are on the alpha to actually test the things, and continue from there.
The stream will carry on tomorrow, but in this format, we're going to catch you next Thursday. Also, tomorrow's video is going to be tanks tier list for Mythic Plus. Yeah, we don't answer it first. Yeah, because we haven't touched tanks in a while, so it's going to be a juicy one. I guess everybody expects the results, but it's nevertheless cool to check out. Thank you, everyone, for joining. That's it.
Yep, see you next week.
Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I have to stop the stream now. You got to get used to it.
Press the button. I'm looking awkward at the camera.
Iată.
Așa.
N-am mai dat record la asta. Partea asta a doua.
Eu am făcut niște timestamp-uri după Twitch și acum nu știu cum faci cu vot, cu așa, îți dau share la link.
Partea a doua. Mie că și asta era, că dădeam record în același timp cu stream-ul. Poate să fi fost și asta. Deci acum n-am mai fost nicio problemă.
Ce putem, putem să sunt multe chestii pe care putem face. Putem face NDI să-mi dai mie și să am eu OBS-ul care să înregistreze tot OBS-ul și tu nu mai înregistrezi tu local, tu să faci doar upload-ul, cum fac eu acasă de altfel, ca să fie unul care înregistrează local, unul care face upload-ul, să nu dăm overload la sistem. Dar în fine, ne jucăm și vedem ce funcționează.
Mouse-ul puli.
Ți-l dau pe Discord. Acum nu, ei ăstea with a grain of salt, că eu am pus aproximativ time să cum le-am mai prins și eu și nu știu cum e delay-ul.
Păi aproximativ trebuie oricum.
Ți-am lăsat acolo cu detalii ca să știi la ce să te uiți. Am făcut, apropo, am făcut overall-ul și wrap-up-ul și rezumatul de vreo 3 ori pe stream. And once again the beta. And once again the beta ție de vreo 3 ori. So...
Bine, nu, la început e important, că după aia...
That's fine. Dar zic așa ca să știi.